1961 conference of the National Association of Broadcasters. Today, we stand at the edge of great possibilities. We, the representatives of the 3 major broadcast corporations in America, are broaching the horizon of the future of our industry. But we must do so with caution. As the pioneers of this new media in the States, we have the obligation to proceed with all the knowledge and the wisdom available to us. The influence that we possess is rapidly growing because the radio is no longer the great power. We have the ability to transport our audience to new cities, countries, even alternate realities through the dazzling spectacle of our moving color images. Why, even in the last decade, we have witnessed the founding of the National Educational Television. Our speaker today is a man with great vision for the future of television. He desires to equip the broadcasting community with the ability to diversify its content and expand its following. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm proud to introduce to you today the chair of the National Communications Commission, appointed by President Kennedy himself, Mr. Newton Minnow.
Thank you. When I came to this position, I locked myself in my office to do my homework and get my feet wet. But apparently I haven't managed to stay out of hot water. I seem to have detected a certain nervous apprehension about what I might say or do when I emerge from that locked office for this, my maiden station break. So let me begin by dispelling a rumor. I was not picked for this job because I consider myself the fastest draw on President Kennedy's new frontier. Second, let me start a rumor. Like you, I have carefully read the President's messages about regulatory agencies, conflict of interest, and ex parte contacts. And of course, we at the Federal Communications Commission will do our part. It may also come as a surprise to some of you, but I want you to know that you have my admiration and my respect. Yours is a most honorable profession. Anyone who is in the broadcasting business has a tough road to hoe. When you work in broadcasting, you volunteer for public service, public pressure, and public regulation. You must compete with other attractions and investments, and the only way you can do it is to prove to us every 3 years that you should have been in business in the first place. I can think of easier ways to make a living, but I cannot think of more satisfying ways. I admire your courage, but that does not mean that I am going to make your life any easier. Your license lets you use the public's airwaves as trustees for over 180 million Americans. I am here to uphold and protect the public interest. It is in that spirit that I intend to serve the FCC. Now, what do we mean when we say the public interest? There are some who would say that we mean whatever interests the public. I disagree, as does your distinguished president, Mr. Governor Collins. In a recent speech, he said, "Broadcasting to serve the public interest must have a soul and a conscience, a burning desire to excel as well as to sell, the urge to build the character, citizenship, and intellectual stature of people. By no means do I imply that broadcasters disregard the public interest, but a much better job can be done and should be done." I could not agree more with Governor Collins. And I would add that in today's world, with chaos in Laos and the Congo aflame, with communist tyranny and our Caribbean doorstep, pressures on our Atlantic alliance, economic and social problems at home of the gravest nature, and with the technological knowledge that, as our president has said, makes it possible not only to destroy the world, but to destroy poverty around the world. In a time of peril and of opportunity, the old, complacent, unbalanced fare of action-adventure and situation comedies is simply not enough. Your industry possesses the most powerful voice in America. It has an inescapable duty to let that voice ring with intelligence and with leadership. In a few years, this exciting industry has grown from a novelty to the most impactful influence on the American people. It should be making ready for the kind of leadership that newspapers and magazines have already accomplished, to make our people aware of their world. When television is good, nothing, not theater, not magazines, not newspapers, nothing is better. When television is bad, nothing is worse. I invite each of you here today to sit down in front of your television set and stay there until the station signs off. Sit there all day with no book, no magazine, no newspaper, no profit and loss sheet, and no ratings book to distract you. I can assure you that what you will find is a vast wasteland. You will see a procession of game shows, formulaic comedies about families that are completely unrealistic, mayhem, murder, gangsters, violence, cartoons, and endless commercials, and most of all, boredom. True, you may see a few things that you will enjoy, but they will be very, very few. And if you think that I exaggerate, I ask you only to try it. Is there one person in this room who claims that broadcasting can't do any better? You, gentlemen, must understand that never have so few had so much to owe to so many. I do not accept the idea that the present overall broadcasting is aimed accurately at the public taste. A rating is at best an indication of how many people saw what you gave them. It does not gauge the depth of the penetration or the intensity of the reaction, and it certainly does not gauge what the acceptance would have been if the content that you had given them had been better, if it had been full of art and creativity and daring and imagination. I believe in the people's good taste and in their good sense, and I do not believe that the people's taste is as low as some of you here assume. And most young children today, believe it or not, spend more time in front of a television than in schoolrooms. And I repeat that, let it sink in, ladies and gentlemen. Most children today spend more time watching television than they do in school. There used to be 3 great influences on a child's life: home, school, and church. Now there is a 4th, and you here in this room control it. Is there no room on television to teach, to engage the capacities of our children's minds? There are some fine children's shows, but they are drowned out by programs that contain violence and nonsensical cartoons. Search your consciences and see if you cannot offer more to your young beneficiaries whose future you guide for so many hours each and every day. Let me make it clear that what I am talking about is balance. I believe that the public interest is made up of many interests, that there are many people in this great country, and you must serve all of us. But your obligations are not satisfied if you look simply to a popularity test in order to decide what to broadcast. You are not only in show business, you are free to communicate ideas as well as relaxation. You must provide a wider range of choices, more diversity, more alternatives. It is not enough to cater to the nation's whims. You must also serve the nation's needs. And I would add this, that if some of you persist in the relentless pursuit of the highest rating and the lowest common denominator, you will lose your audience, because the American people are wiser than you think. Remind your stockholders that when you make an investment in broadcasting, you are buying a share in public responsibility. The networks can start this industry on a new road towards freedom from the dictatorship of numbers. There is your challenge to leadership. You must re-examine some fundamentals of this industry. You must open your minds and your hearts to the limitless horizons of tomorrow. I can suggest some words that should serve to guide you. Television and all who participate in it are jointly accountable to the American public. This responsibility cannot be discharged by any given group of programs, but can be discharged only through the highest standards of respect for the American home, applied to every moment, every program presented by television. Program materials should enlarge the horizons of the viewer, provide him with wholesome entertainment, afford helpful stimulation, and remind him of the responsibilities which the citizen has towards his society. Now, those are not my words. They are yours. They are taken literally verbatim from your own television code. They reflect the leadership and aspirations of a great industry, and I urge you to respect them as I do. I urge you at this meeting, and when you go home to your stations and your networks, to focus on striving to improve a product for your viewers, the American people. What you gentlemen broadcast through the people's air affects the people's taste, affects the people's opinions, their understanding of themselves and their world, and of their future. I remind you what the President has said during his stirring inaugural. Ask not what America may do for you, ask what you may do for America. Ladies and gentlemen, I say to you, ask not what broadcasting may do for you, ask what you may do for broadcasting. And ask what broadcasting can do for America. I urge you to put the people's airwaves to the service of the people and the cause of freedom. You must help a generation prepare to make great decisions. You must help a great nation fulfill its future. Do this. I pledge you our help. Thank you.